Welcome back to another deep dive, everyone.
Excited to be here.
This time we're diving into the whole BRICS currency buzz.
Lots to talk about it lately.
Yeah, especially after that BRICS summit in Kazan.
Yeah.
Listeners sent in a ton of articles.
It's definitely a hot topic.
So much noise out there, right? Like that banknote picture that went viral.
Right.
People talking about a new world order and all that.
It's easy to get caught up in the hype.
Totally. Our mission today, cut through it all, figure out.
Yeah.
Is a BRICS currency really happening?
Yeah. Hype versus reality.
Exactly. Or is it all just, like, wishful thinking?
We'll see.
What's the real story?
Let's find out.
And if it is real, what does it all mean? What could happen?
Big questions.
Huge. Luckily, we've got our expert here to help us make sense of it.
Happy to help sort through it all.
So maybe let's start with that banknote image. It was everywhere, right?
Yeah, it definitely got people's attention.
It's like a pretty big deal.
Important to remember, though, the Indian government clarified. It was symbolic.
Oh, really?
Yeah, a gesture, Presented to Putin. Not a real currency.
So not actually money?
Nope. Just a symbolic thing.
Huh. Good to know.
It's a good reminder to be careful what you see online.
Fact check everything.
Exactly.
Okay, so the banknote was symbolic.
Right.
What's actually going on then? Within BRICS, I mean. About a new currency.
Well, they are exploring creating a new reserve currency
Okay.
backed by a basket of their own currencies.
Makes sense.
And maybe gold, too.
Oh, interesting. Gold backing?
Potentially. They're even considering calling it the unit.
The unit.
Yeah.
Okay, so is it like a done deal?
Not at all. Still very exploratory, no official agreements or anything yet.
So they're talking about it then.
Basically, exploring the idea. No timeline for implementation, really.
Got it. So why the push for a new currency? What's the motivation? Just reactions to geopolitical stuff or something more?
It's a mix of things. De-dollarization is a big part of it.
De-dollarization.
Right.
Reducing reliance on the U.S. dollar.
Exactly. Especially for countries like Russia and China. They want more autonomy, less vulnerability to U.S. economic policies, sanctions, things like that.
So it's about shifting the balance of power.
Yeah.
A little bit.
Economically, politically.
Yeah.
A new currency could give them more control.
Over their own financial destinies.
Right. It's definitely about more than just economics.
Yeah, for sure. So are there other things, other strategies they're thinking about to achieve this, like de-dollarization?
Definitely. There's this thing called the BRICS Bridge.
BRICS Bridge, okay. What's that?
It's a payment system based on blockchain technology.
Ah, blockchain. Getting all techie.
Yeah, well, it's designed to make transactions easier
Right.
in local currencies, I mean.
So like cutting out the dollar as the middleman.
Exactly. And they could even use CBDCs on it.
CBDCs, central bank digital currencies.
Right.
Right. Wow. So they're not just talking about a new currency. It's like they're building a whole system to support it.
Yeah. Laying the groundwork. A parallel financial system, you could say.
Wow. It really shows how serious they are about moving away from the dollar, huh?
Yeah, it's a big signal.
This BRICS bridge thing, can you tell us a bit more about how it all works?
Sure. Imagine, BRICS nations trading with each other, using their own currencies directly. No need to convert to dollars first.
Makes sense.
It can really streamline things, cut down on transaction costs.
Sounds pretty efficient.
Yeah.
But creating a single currency
Yeah.
across so many different economies must be tricky, right?
Yeah, definitely. It's one of the big challenges.
Like what?
Well, think about the different economic conditions. You've got economies at all different stages of development, right?
Mm-hmm.
Different inflation rates, debt levels, how much they rely on exports. It's all different.
So finding common ground.
Yeah.
That works for everyone without, messing up anyone's economy.
Right. That's the key. Some experts are worried about inflation risks for countries like India and Brazil, I mean.
Right. I can see that.
If their currencies are tied too closely to, say, a basket dominated by the yuan, things could get complicated.
Yeah. It's a lot to balance.
Definitely. Reaching consensus on monetary policy, fiscal regulations, it's going to be tough.
Across such different economies. Yeah, for sure. Okay, let's shift gears a bit. Talk about the impact of a BRICS currency on the whole world. Could it really challenge the dollar?
That's the big question, right? The impact could be huge, but it's tough to say for sure what will happen. Some experts think it could gradually erode the dollar's dominance over time.
Makes sense.
But others are more cautious, think it might just lead to more competition between reserve currencies. not a total upheaval.
So more of a gradual shift than like a sudden revolution.
Yeah. I mean, the dollar's been the king for so long, it won't be easy to dethrone it.
Right. Entrenched. But even a gradual shift, that's still a big deal, right?
Totally. Could change things for global trade, investment, even geopolitics.
This is fascinating. Okay, we've covered a lot. The fake banknote, why they want to ditch the dollar, how it's all pretty complicated to actually do. But let's be realistic, right? We know a BRICS currency isn't a done deal. What should we be looking for? Like, what would show us that this is actually moving forward?
That's a good question. I would say watch for concrete steps, you know?
Actions, not just words.
Exactly. Are they setting timelines? Creating a framework for managing exchange rates?
Oh, yeah, that's important.
Figuring out how to handle disagreements?
Right. Those are all like practical things.
Signs that they're serious about making this happen.
Okay, so watch for action, not just talk. It makes sense. And it's not just about the technical stuff, right?
Yep.
The politics matter too.
A lot.
Like, do the BRICS nations actually agree on what they want?
That's a big one. Are they willing to compromise? Or will there be disagreements that could derail the whole thing?
So internal politics.
Yeah.
Important to watch.
Very important.
Right, because we talked about the economic differences between the BRICS countries. But the geopolitical landscape matters too.
Right, absolutely. Each country has its own interests, its own goals.
So like for Russia, it's about
sanctions, for sure.
Right, getting around those Western sanctions.
Exactly. A BRICS currency would give them another way to, do business internationally.
Without relying on the dollar.
Right.
Makes sense given the whole situation they're in.
Yeah, definitely.
But what about India? They seem, I don't know, more cautious.
They are. It's interesting. India's economy is huge and growing fast, but they're also very connected to the current global financial system.
So they've got to be careful.
Right. Weigh the benefits of a BRICS currency against the risks.
Risks like
disrupting existing relationships, causing instability, things like that.
It sounds like they're trying to find a balance between, being more independent and keeping their place in the global economy.
Exactly. It's a tricky position.
And of course, we can't forget about China.
Right.
They're kind of the elephant in the room, aren't they?
In a way, yeah. Their economic influence in BRICS is huge.
Undeniable. So how do you think they'll influence this whole currency thing?
Well, some analysts think China might end up having a lot of control over, how the BRICS currency is designed, how it's implemented.
I see.
And they could use that influence to benefit themselves.
Their own economic interests.
Right.
So it's not all like kumbaya and working together, huh?
Not necessarily. It's important to remember BRICS isn't some, unified bloc.
Right.
Each nation has its own agenda.
And those agendas might not always match up perfectly.
Exactly.
That brings up another point. This isn't just about economics.
Yep.
It's about geopolitics, too.
Big time.
How could a successful BRICS currency change the balance of power in the world?
Ooh, that's a big one.
Yeah.
Imagine this, a big chunk of global trade and finance no longer going through the dollar system.
Wow. That's a major shift.
Right. It would empower the BRICS nations, maybe weaken the U.S. and its allies.
We hear a lot about a multipolar world order. Could a BRICS currency be what makes that happen?
It could be a catalyst, for sure. It might make BRICS nations bolder, more willing to go their own way, challenge the existing order, the Western-led one, I mean.
Right.
That could lead to, a more diverse system, more decentralized.
That's good.
But it could also mean more instability, more competition between different blocs.
So it's a double-edged sword.
Kind of, yeah. Could be good or bad. More global representation, more autonomy, but also maybe more friction, more uncertainty.
The consequences are complicated.
Very complicated, multifaceted. It's not just like swapping one currency for another. It's about reshaping the whole system.
Wow. Financial and geopolitical.
The whole landscape.
This is really thought-provoking. But let's bring it back down to earth for a second.
Yeah.
Why should our listener care about all this? Someone who maybe isn't a finance whiz or a geopolitical expert. How could a BRICS currency affect their life?
That's the important question, right? It might seem far off, but the ripple effects, they could reach everyone.
What?
Yeah. Changes in the global financial system can affect a lot of things. The prices we pay for imported goods, the stability of our own currencies, our own economies.
So it's not just like theory or something that only affects governments.
Not at all. It could have real consequences for people, their wallets, the cost of living, the whole economic landscape.
Okay, yeah. That makes it more relatable. It's not just something happening on the other side of the world.
Right. What happens in global finance can hit close to home.
Makes sense. Okay, we talked about the good stuff, the potential benefits of a BRICS currency, and the challenges, of course. But what about the downsides, the risks?
Good point. One worry is volatility, uncertainty.
Oh, okay.
A multipolar currency system might mean more choices, but it could also make markets more unpredictable.
Right, because
When we have a bunch of major currencies competing, it's harder to predict exchange rates, harder to manage risk.
makes sense. And that kind of unpredictability.
Can hurt businesses, investors, even regular consumers.
So it's a trade-off. More diversity, but maybe less stability.
Exactly. And it's not just the economics, there's also the potential for conflict.
Geopolitical conflict.
Yeah. Like we said, the BRICS nations, they have different goals.
Right.
If they don't manage those differences carefully, a new currency could make things worse.
Instead of bringing them together.
Yeah. It could create more division, more friction.
So we need to think about the political fallout, too.
Definitely. A BRICS currency could be a good thing, promote cooperation.
But it could also backfire.
Exactly. It could lead to more tension, more conflict.
It's a complicated equation.
A lot of factors to consider.
Uh,
And the outcome, who knows?
It's still uncertain. Okay, this has been a really fascinating look at the BRICS currency and what it all could mean. We've talked about the why, the how, the dot, everything. But I'm still wondering, if a BRICS currency does happen, what will the world look like then?
The million-dollar question.
Right. We've analyzed all the angles.
Ah.
But the long-term impact, that's where things get speculative.
Yeah, but speculation based on, what we do know.
Right, exactly. So what are some possible scenarios?
Okay, well, on the optimistic side, a multipolar currency system could lead to like a burst of innovation in finance, I mean.
Oh, interesting.
Think about it. Lower transaction fees, easier currency conversions, more people having access to financial services.
Yeah, those are all good things.
Right. A more inclusive system, a more efficient system could be good for businesses, good for individuals.
I like the sound of that.
And the whole digital currency thing, blockchain, that's already shaking things up. A BRICS currency could push those trends even further, lead to a system that's, more dynamic,
Yeah.
more accessible.
That's a pretty exciting possibility.
It is.
But like you said, big changes usually come with some risks too.
Always.
So what are some of the potential downsides? Which should we be worried about?
Well, we talked about volatility and uncertainty.
Right. More choices, but maybe less stability.
Exactly. When you have multiple major currencies, it can be harder to predict what's going to happen. Exchange rates, risk management, it all gets more complex.
And that could hurt people.
Potentially, yeah. Businesses, investors, regular consumers, anyone who's, part of the global economy.
So finding that balance between diversity and stability, that's going to be key.
Absolutely. And then there's the geopolitical side of things.
Right. The potential for conflict.
If the BRICS nations don't work together,
Yeah.
if they let their differences get in the way,
A new currency could actually divide them.
yeah, instead of uniting them.
And then stepping back even further, thinking about the whole world.
Mm-hmm.
Moving away from a dollar-centric system,
Mm-hmm.
that's a huge shift in power.
Huge.
Could be a good thing. More balance, more cooperation.
Right.
But it could also lead to more competition, more friction, maybe even conflict between countries.
It's definitely a possibility.
The economic shifts, they always have geopolitical consequences.
Oh.
Okay, so we've covered a lot of ground here. A more inclusive financial system, volatility and uncertainty, geopolitical tensions. The stakes are high.
Very high.
And that's why these conversations are so important.
I agree.
The future of the global financial system.
Yeah.
It's being shaped right now.
Right in front of us.
And we need to understand what's happening, what it could mean for all of us.
Exactly.
So for a listener, someone who's been following along with us on this deep dive,
Yeah.
what's the main takeaway?
I'd say this. A BRICS currency might not happen tomorrow, but the fact that they're even talking about it, that's a sign that things are changing.
The world is changing.
Yeah. And those changes could have a big impact on economies, businesses, people's lives everywhere.
So pay attention. This is a story that's still unfolding.
Definitely. One to watch.
And that's a perfect place to wrap things up. The BRICS currency. It's about more than just, money.
Right.
It's about global power, technology, the relationships between countries.
It's a big, complex story.
And we'll keep following it here on The Deep Dive. Thanks for joining us, everyone. Keep learning, keep asking questions. And we'll see you next time.